My name is Gabriel Mercer, 32 years old. Family dinners had always been predictable in our house. A little too polished, a little too rehearsed, but this one felt staged from the moment I walked in. Mom had set the dining table with the good china, the fragile plates with faded gold rims that only came out for Easter, Christmas, or funerals. And tonight wasn't any of those, which meant something was coming. Sure enough, the moment I sat down, Dad lifted his glass with the posture of a man about to deliver a speech. His voice rang out, firm and ceremonial. "Your brother's a provider, always has been." The words hung in the air like a blessing, and then came the applause. It wasn't polite clapping. It was an eruption, sharp and too eager, like the room had been waiting for this cue. Mom teared up. Jenna gave Ethan that sideways look, the kind reserved for heroes returning from war. Even my uncle, who hadn't clapped for anything since 1998, nodded as if he'd just witnessed history. I didn't clap. I leaned back in my chair, felt the stem of my wine glass cool against my fingers, and spoke clearly enough for the whole room to hear. "Perfect. Then he can handle the $9,200 credit card balance I've been clearing for him." The silence that followed was surgical. Ethan coughed, sputtered, his San Pellegrino spilling across the table like acid. Jenna stiffened, lips parted. Mom made a noise caught between a gasp and denial. And Dad, the man who never looked surprised, looked at me as if I'd set the curtains on fire. I didn't move. The room had already shifted, the heat recalibrating around the truth I'd just dropped. Let me rewind. 6 months earlier, Ethan had called me in a rush, claimed his startup funds were frozen. Just a short-term snag, he said. He needed help for a few weeks. He couldn't get approved for a credit card because of a dumb tax thing. He begged me to co-sign, just for the rough patch. "It'll never touch you," he promised. "You can trust me." By the second month, minimum payment alerts buzzed my phone like gnats. By the fourth, debt collectors knew my name. Meanwhile, Ethan was jetting off to Tulum with Jenna, posting drone shots of sunsets. He bought new hiking gear he never used. I kept the statements. Every screenshot, I emailed him twice with totals. No reply. So that night, while they toasted him like Moses parting the Red Sea, I put the truth on the table. Mom tried to wave it off. "You must have misunderstood." I reached into my jacket, pulled out a thick envelope, and laid it in the center of the table. The slap of paper against porcelain echoed louder than the applause had. Jenna grabbed it first. Her hands shook as she flipped through the pages. Halfway down the first page, her face drained of color, she looked at Ethan like she didn't recognize him. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Are you seriously doing this here?" "Yeah," I said flatly. "Here." Dad's chair scraped back with a screech. He stood tall, puffing up like he could put the genie back in the bottle. "This isn't the place, Gabriel." But it was. It always had been. I turned to Ethan. All his swagger, that golden boy shine, evaporated. What was left was panic. "You owe me $9,000, I said. "Start providing." Then I stood, left my half-eaten salmon cooling on the plate, and walked out. They didn't call for 3 days. No texts. No voicemails. In my family, silence didn't mean processing. It meant strategy. On the 4th day, Dad finally texted, "We need to talk. Come over tonight." No explanation, no apology, just an order. I waited 5 hours before I replied with one word. "Why?" He never answered. Still, at 6:03 p.m., I pulled into their driveway. Not because I owed them, but because I wanted to see how far the cracks had spread. The moment I stepped inside, I knew I'd walked into theater. The table was dressed again with the good china. Candles flickered. Mom wore pearls, her hair neat in a way that screamed performance. Dad sat at the head with a manila folder in front of him, posture sharp, like he was mediating a corporate merger. Jenna stood in the corner, arms folded tight. Ethan wasn't there. No greetings, no warmth, just Dad gesturing at the chair across from him. I sat. He opened the folder and slid it across the table. Inside was a check. $9,200. Exact. "We want to resolve this like adults," he said, tone clipped. It was inappropriate to raise something so personal at a family gathering. I met his eyes. How many times should I have raised it in private before it became okay to say out loud? He didn't answer. Mom leaned forward, voice tremulous but rehearsed. "Ethan's under pressure. He made some mistakes. He never meant for this to fall on you." I almost laughed. "Want to see the receipts for the $600 headphones? Or the drone? Or the weekend trips right after he ghosted me?" At that, Jenna flinched. Her eyes darted toward me, then down. That was when I knew she hadn't realized how bad it was. Mom tried to pivot, clinging to the script. The important thing is, the debt is handled. We can move forward. But Jenna's body stiffened. Slowly, she walked to the living room, picked up a duffel bag I hadn't noticed before. Her voice was quiet but steady. I'm done. I'm not spending another night pretending Ethan is someone he isn't. She looked at me. You were right. Then she walked out. No drama, no screaming, just gone. Mom's face crumpled. Dad stared at the check like it was a ransom note. He pushed it toward me again. This time I took it. Not because it fixed anything, not because I forgave. That check wasn't justice, it was a receipt. The cost of exposure. But exposure was only the beginning. That night, I sat at my desk and opened a new folder on my laptop. Ethan. Cleanup begins. I started scanning, saving, cataloging, screenshots, emails, payment records. The golden boy had cracks now. And the next time he tried to bury his mess, he wouldn't be able to do it in the dark. Because I wasn't done. Not even close. 2 weeks. That's how long the silence lasted after Jenna walked out with her duffel bag and I walked away with the check. Long enough for my parents to convince themselves it was over. Long enough for Ethan to imagine the storm had passed. Long enough for me to realize silence in this family was never neutral. It was strategy. On the 13th night, my phone rang. A blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. When I played it back, it was nothing but uneven breathing, footsteps pacing against hardwood, and a single muttered line. You think you're better than me? Then a hang-up. I saved it. The next morning, a new notification blinked across my laptop screen. A LinkedIn message from someone I didn't know. Hi, Gabriel. I hope it's okay to reach out. I think your brother might have scammed me. Can we talk? Tara Holbrook. At first, I thought it was a mistake. A bot, a spammer. But I Googled her. She was real. A UI designer with a portfolio of work I recognized from startups in San Diego. Legit. When I finally responded, she sent everything. And I mean everything. Apparently, Ethan had embedded himself into a women in tech startup circle. He pitched himself as a champion of inclusivity, building a fintech platform for underserved communities. He spoke like a messiah, promising equity, mentorship, girls in STEM donations. 3 women signed on. They agreed to work unpaid until seed funding came in. They built decks, drafted prototypes, pitched alongside him at mixers. Tara even designed a full investor presentation. Then, one day, he vanished. Slack workspace gone. Domain shut down. Email accounts deactivated. All 3 of them blocked on social media. Tara had found me through a reverse image search. Someone had tagged Ethan in an old family photo on Facebook. She followed the thread, landed on my profile, and took a chance. I didn't lie to her. I told her everything about the credit card, the broken promises, the check that felt like hush money. She didn't seem surprised, just tired. She asked me to send proof. In return, she sent hers. Slack exports, pitch decks, screenshots of invoices, even a receipt for the domain registration Ethan abandoned. That night, I created a folder on my desktop. Ethan. Digital Trail. I sat at my desk until 3 a.m., dragging files into neatly labeled subfolders. Statements, voicemails, Tara's exports, the breathing message. Every click of the mouse felt like tightening a screw. By the time I stopped, my desktop looked like a crime board. 3 days later, someone knocked on my door. It was Mom. I hadn't seen her in person since the dinner. She looked thinner, worn down, her eyes swollen from lack of sleep. She didn't ask to come in. She just stood in the doorway, clutching her purse like a life raft. Your brother's missing, she said. Her voice cracked. No calls, no texts. Even Jenna's blocked us. We don't know where he is. I folded my arms. And you're here to ask if I've said anything. Her silence was the answer. You're not angry at what he did, I said. You're angry I'm not covering for him. Gabriel. Her lip trembled. If this gets out, it will ruin us. People talk. The church. Your father's colleagues. Do you understand what this will do to our family name? I almost laughed. Our name. That was her priority. Not the women left unpaid. Not me drowning in debt collectors. The family crest. The facade. There are more women, I told her. Some are already building a case. One is considering the police. Her face went white. Don't make this public. I met her eyes steady. It already is. She faltered, clutching her purse tighter, then turned and walked away without another word. I shut the door and leaned against it, my chest tight. Not with guilt, but with a cold clarity. This wasn't about family anymore, it was about truth. 2 days later, the first spark ignited. An anonymous blog post surfaced in a local startup forum. It described a fake founder exploiting women in tech under the guise of allyship. It didn't name Ethan, but the details were unmistakable. The buzzwords, the timelines, the inclusive fintech lie. People in the community began connecting dots. A blurry photo appeared in the comments. Ethan at a mixer, smiling with a drink in hand. Others added their stories. Unpaid favors, borrowed money never returned, collaborations that vanished when invoices came due. Tara messaged me again that night. They're asking if this is Ethan. Should I confirm? I typed back, say whatever you need to. The truth is the truth. I refreshed the thread every 10 minutes. Each time, new stories appeared. Screenshots, names, proof. By dawn, the blog post had been shared 1,000 times. By noon, 10,000. And somewhere in that wildfire, Ethan's name appeared. Not from me, not from Tara, from someone else entirely. Once it was out, there was no pulling it back. But the storm didn't stop there. The next day, I got a message from a woman named Kay. Ethan had borrowed $2,000 from her for a supposed angel investment opportunity. He never paid her back. Then another message from a woman named Courtney. She'd let Ethan crash at her place in Santa Monica for a week. He left with her AirPods, her $1,600 laptop, and her Spotify account still logged in. I created a shared Google Drive, Ethan Fisher, digital trail. I uploaded everything. Screenshots, receipts, voicemails, even the fake testimony Fiverr clip someone had dug up. Then I sent the link to Jenna. Her reply came fast. Let's finish this. I didn't ask what she meant. I just gave her edit access. The golden boy wasn't just cracking, he was unraveling. And this time, he was running out of places to land. The anonymous blog post was only the spark. The real explosion came the next morning. At 8:12 a.m., a single tweet appeared beneath the thread. Is this Ethan Mercer? Took him long enough to get exposed. No tag, no photo, just his name. That was all it took. Within an hour, the replies multiplied. 3 people confirmed without hesitation. Others piled on with fragments. Borrowed for conference fees and disappeared. Ghosted after I sent deliverables. Always bragged about NDAs but never showed proof. By lunchtime, Ethan's name wasn't whispered. It was trending. And then came the avalanche. Someone posted the shared Google Drive link. Not me, not Tara, not Jenna. It came from inside one of the women's professional groups. The link spread like wildfire, mirrored and reposted across forums and private chats. I clicked it open and felt my pulse hammer. All the files I'd compiled, statements, voicemails, Slack exports, were there, now amplified and multiplied. Daylight everywhere. For a second, fear spiked. This wasn't controlled anymore. It was out of my hands. Then another thought. Good. Finally, daylight. By 2 p.m., the drive had over 10,000 views. By 4, closer to 30,000. On Reddit, a thread titled, "This Tech Bro Scammed Women into Building His Fake Startup" rocketed to the front page. Strangers dissected his deck slide by slide. They unearthed reused logos, copy-pasted investor pitches, even timestamps showing content lifted from online templates. One post made my stomach twist. A link to a Fiverr invoice. Ethan had paid $50 for a fake testimonial video. A hired actor, smiling into the camera, reciting lines about how Ethan's company was reducing gender discrimination in fintech. The irony was so sharp it made me dizzy. I sat at my laptop hitting refresh, like it was oxygen. Every scroll was another brick ripped out of the golden boy's facade. And then the big one dropped. At 11:24 a.m., someone tagged a mid-sized fintech company in Austin, one Ethan had bragged about interviewing with. By 2:15 p.m., they released a public statement. Following new information regarding ethical concerns, we have rescinded our offer to Mr. Ethan Mercer. We stand with the women who have come forward. Integrity is non-negotiable. I read it 3 times out loud. Integrity is non-negotiable. That was it. In the space of a press release, Ethan's future evaporated. That night, Mom called. Her voice was ragged, almost unrecognizable. He came home, she whispered. No car, no suitcase, just a backpack and a broken phone. He hasn't slept. He hasn't eaten. He looks destroyed. I waited. This is too far, she pleaded. You have to take it down. A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. I don't control it anymore. It's out there. You could try, she insisted. Delete what you shared. Contact the blogs. Tell them it's exaggerated. Mom, my voice was sharper than I intended. Why are you still protecting him? Her silence cut deeper than any words. You're crying because people see him for who he is, I said slowly. But not once have you cried for the women he scammed. Not once for me. Her breath hitched. She didn't argue, just whispered, Do you understand what this looks like for us? For us? I repeated. You mean your reputation. The line went quiet, then she hung up. I sat in the dark, phone still in my hand, shaking. Not from doubt, but from a grief so old it felt like bone. The following morning, an email slid into my inbox. Subject line, potential defamation and privacy violation. It was short, cold, vague. We are aware of materials being circulated that could cause irreparable harm to Mr. Ethan Mercer's reputation. Further distribution may result in legal action. No firm name, no signature beyond representing party. I forwarded it to Jenna. Her reply came in all caps. He's using our family friend. This guy isn't even a real lawyer. Attached was a Christmas photo from 3 years ago. Dad, Ethan, and a man in a red turtleneck, smiling stiffly at the camera. The so-called attorney. He sold insurance. I almost laughed, but the sound that came out was closer to a growl. I drafted a reply. If Mr. Mercer wishes to pursue legal action, I'll be happy to present all evidence in court. I currently have 62 files ready for discovery. I hit send. No one ever responded. 3 days passed. The threads grew, mutated, circled wider. People posted screenshots of his old emails, photos from networking events. A half-dozen women swapped stories of borrowed cash, unpaid promises. Ethan's name turned into shorthand for a scammer archetype. I watched it unfold with a strange detachment. I didn't feel joy, not even vindication, just a cold, steady focus. The golden boy's crown had been yanked off in broad daylight. But somewhere inside me, I knew this was only the middle. Because if exposure was this loud already, the real reckoning, the evidence buried deepest, was still waiting to surface. And when it did, it wouldn't just scorch Ethan. It would burn the whole family. The message from Jenna came late, just past midnight. Meet me tomorrow. No excuses. We met at a diner halfway between my apartment and her office. No small talk, no menu browsing. She slid something across the table, wrapped in one of Ethan's gray hoodies. Found it while packing up his stuff, she said. External hard drive. You'll want to see what's on it. I didn't open it there. Just nodded, paid for her coffee, and carried the bundle home like it was radioactive. That night, I plugged it in. 49 folders appeared, each one named with chilling casualness. Bridge loans, pitch decks, voice notes, backups. I clicked bridge loans. The spreadsheet that opened made my stomach twist. Names, dates, amounts. Family, friends, colleagues, strangers. Each with a neat little note. Likely won't follow up. Blocked me. No paper trail. One entry read, Rideshare driver, $400. Emergency tow, unpaid. Then I saw mine, Gabriel. $200. Cleared. Next to it, another column labeled, Backstop. The entry, Mom. I scrolled further. Her name appeared again. $5,000. Car loan. $20,500. Miscellaneous. I sat frozen, staring at the screen until the lines blurred. She hadn't just enabled him, she'd insured him. While I was drowning under collectors, she was secretly funneling him cash. My blood, her cover. It wasn't just Ethan who'd buried me, it was all of them. For 2 days, I could barely think. I opened other folders in pieces like lifting bandages on wounds. Voice notes, Ethan rehearsing lies. Remember, equity sounds cleaner than free work. Pitch decks. Same content, recycled under different company names, logos swapped like costumes. Every file dripped arrogance, every line felt calculated. And beneath it all was Mom's invisible hand, steadying his frauds while letting me bleed. That night, I opened a blank document. This wouldn't just be receipts in a drive or whispers in a forum. It would be a full expose, a timeline, with names, dates, invoices, files. This time it wouldn't be anonymous. If the Golden Boy was going to crash, the Golden family would come down with him. A few days later, I got a call from Josh, our cousin, the one who'd always played middleman when things got awkward. His voice shook. Can we meet? We sat in a coffee shop, the hum of the espresso machine masking his trembling. He looked wrecked. Dark circles, jittery hands, the hollowed-out look of someone who'd lost more than money. Turns out Ethan had borrowed $12,000 from him, told him it was for app development, promised a guaranteed 40% return. Josh had even convinced a coworker to invest alongside him. The worst part, Josh whispered, I never told my wife. And now my friend's threatening to sue me for fraud. I slid my laptop across the table, pulled up the spreadsheet, showed him the line, Josh, probably fold if cornered. Josh gave a strangled laugh. Not humor. The kind of laugh that breaks out when you realize you were never family in someone's eyes, just a pawn on a board. He wrote me down like a strategy, Josh muttered. His shoulders slumped. I copied the files for him, pushed the drive toward his side of the table. Better she hears it from you now, before it surfaces another way. He nodded, tears gathering, but unshed. That same night, there was a knock at my door. It was Dad, alone, no mom, no Ethan, just him. He looked older than I'd ever seen him, the years of denial etched deep in his face. Can I come in? He asked quietly. We sat at my kitchen table. I poured him coffee he didn't touch. He slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a check for $15,000. What's this for? I asked. To cover whatever else Ethan did. His voice cracked. I don't want to know the details. I stared at him. It was never about the money. His eyes dropped to the tabletop. His hands trembled. I know. We sat in silence for a long time. Then he said, barely above a whisper, I don't want this to go on forever. It was the first honest sentence I'd ever heard him say. I'm publishing it, I told him. The expose. It's already written, already scheduled. He closed his eyes, exhaled like he'd been carrying a weight that had finally crushed him. When he opened them, there was no fight left. Do what you need to do, he said. Then he left. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We're cutting ties with Ethan. Please don't publish. It's over. I stared at the words, my chest tightening. It wasn't over. Not yet. Because the story wasn't just Ethan's, it was mine. And for the first time in my life, I was going to make sure it was heard by everyone. The expose went live at exactly 9:01 a.m. on a Monday. I hadn't slept the night before. I read it again and again, checked every screenshot, every attachment, every note, triple-checked the tone. Not bitter, not theatrical, just precise, clean, surgical. The headline was simple: The Golden Child, a family's silence, a brother's lies, and the cost we all paid. It began with the $9,200, then expanded. The unpaid women who built his ghost startup, the fake testimonials, the bridge loan spreadsheet with 46 names, receipts, timelines, amounts. Nothing embellished, nothing withheld. By 9:47, it was on Reddit. By noon, it had spread to LinkedIn, Medium, private Facebook groups. Someone captioned it. We always knew there was a guy like this. We just never had proof until now. Within 24 hours, it had been shared more than 70,000 times. At 4:00 p.m., an email hit my inbox. A podcast asking if I'd come on to talk about narcissistic family systems and financial abuse. I didn't respond. I hadn't written this to become anyone's symbol. I just wanted people to know. And now they did. That night, silence broke from my parents, but not in the way I'd hoped. No calls, no voicemails, just an email. We've read what you published. We are deeply hurt by your decision to make private matters public. For now, we believe it's best to end all contact. That was it. No acknowledgement of Ethan's victims, no apology, no regret, just a cold severing of me. I stared at the screen for 5 seconds, then archived it and muted their addresses. I had already blocked their voicemails. I didn't cry. Because the truth was, I hadn't lost them in that moment. I'd lost them years ago. This was only the paperwork. Ethan vanished. Deleted socials. Disappeared from sight. Rumors swirled. Someone saw him at a bus terminal in another state. Someone else said he was couch surfing. But it didn't matter. Online, his name was now shorthand for scam. The internet never forgets. Some of the women filed small claims. A few got partial payments. Most didn't. But they were connected now, sharing documents, supporting each other. Jenna joined them. She and one of the designers he'd burned started a small agency of their own. Real work, real clients, real integrity. She emailed me once with a joke, referral bonus if you know anyone who needs branding. For the first time in months, I laughed. Josh, the cousin Ethan scammed for $12,000, called a week later. Said he'd told his wife everything. Said it was brutal, but they were working through it. His voice cracked when he thanked me. You saved me from giving him more, he said. For once, gratitude didn't feel like a wound. Then came the envelope. Handwritten, no return address. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, no greeting, no signature, just 7 words in my mother's hand. I should have protected you. I'm sorry. I held it a long time, fingers trembling. It didn't undo years of silence, didn't erase the way they'd made me the villain for refusing to cover Ethan's lies. But I kept it, not because I forgave her, but because it was proof I hadn't been imagining it all, proof that someone, at least once, had seen me. The golden child wasn't just exposed, he was finished. And with him, the version of me who played along, stayed quiet, swallowed rage in exchange for peace. That version was gone too. They cut me off, and it was the greatest gift they ever gave me. Now I live clean. I live honest. I live loud. And I never clean up after liars anymore.